Greetings. We're back again at here at CVTD. Where we're talking with Mike Arnold. He's one of the founding board members of the Logan Transit District. That was a system originally started, and then CVTD grew out of that. I'm Todd Butler. I'm the general manager of the Cache Valley Transit District, and Mike Arnold sits on the board with us. And so we're excited to talk to him today and really kind of talk about the subject of why the transit district is a zero fare. And so maybe, Mike, I'll throw that question to you. Why did the system start as a zero fare system?
Well, back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, as we were putting together the system, one exercise that we went through was for each of us to sit down with a blank piece of paper and sort of envision what we saw as the perfect transit system for Cache Valley. There were common themes that came out of the results of that, including clean buses, courteous drivers, a system where people felt safe. But another one was a system without a fare. So in that ideal system, and we wanted to come as close to that as possible, that was one of the common themes. As we put together the numbers later on for operating the system, we took into account what the quarter-cent sales tax would equate to, as well as some state and federal dollars that were allocated to the transit system. And we found that we were able to operate the system without the need for having a fare. It also was more streamlined to operate without a fare, since we didn't need a fare collection system on each bus, and we didn't have to hire extra staff to count and monitor the fares. As important, it made the system move more user-friendly, since you didn't have to stop and do your fare and decide as you're making changes, have you already paid a fare to go to this, or it just made it a lot more streamlined. So we opted not to do the fare. Okay.
So Mike, you brought up several key things there. I think you talked about operational efficiency, not only from the standpoint of it makes it easier to operate and we don't have to have extra staff and things. And then you talked about the fact it's easier for riders. Was your intention when you started the system that it would stay fare or zero fare for forever, or was it intended that eventually it would transition to a fare system?
Yeah. Again, we wanted to remain as close to that perfect system as possible. I would say that over the last 30 years, we revisited that as a board on a number of occasions. We went even so far as to hire outside consultants in the industry who know a lot of transit system, what works and what doesn't. And they came back with the recommendation that to continue what we were doing already. More and more systems these days are going to fare free. Missoula, Montana, Kansas City, Missouri, Olympia, Washington, Corvallis, Oregon. These are all fare free systems, as well as in our own backyard, Park City. So those studies, though, that these consultants did, said it would cost more to collect the fare than the revenue that we received from the fare. And from those studies, ridership would be projected if we instituted a fare, depending on how much the fare was. Ridership might drop anywhere from 30 to 50%, and we don't want to discourage anyone from riding. We'd like to encourage that as much as possible. We'll continue to revisit, though, that issue every number of years to make sure that we execute the most efficient system possible for the people of Cache Valley.
Right. You bring up that there's other systems that maybe were a fare system, now have gone zero fare type of thing, and we're not unique in that. Is this something that the board's got a flavor of? I mean, is this something supported by the community here in Cache Valley? I mean, the folks that don't ride the bus?
Yeah, we get asked that question a lot. from people thinking, well, that's not fair. I mean, but in a way, I mean, I don't have any kids right now at my age in school, and yet I pay a school tax, and we all pay part of this sales tax that we pay goes toward supporting the system. So everyone pays, not everybody uses it. It is available for everyone that wants to use it, but some people find it more convenient to drive. So that's fine. For some people, they don't have a choice. And for those people and the people who opt to use the system, it's there for their betterment. Because transportation is somewhat of a, I don't know, I don't want to call it a right, but it's an essential thing to get to your job and to get to the grocery store and back and to the doctor. And a lot of people depend on the transit system for that, but not everyone, obviously.
Yeah, well, that's great. So you kind of mentioned that the board will revisit this over time, but do you see in the next little while that the system will continue to stay zero fare?
For now, until the board looks at it periodically to see if things have changed. But right now, we just don't see where it makes sense for Cache Valley Transit.
Well, I like the idea that you guys started with a blank sheet of paper, if you will, and you said, what are some of these attributes to make a great system? And this was one of those. And you talked about clean buses and courteous drivers. How do you feel? Mike, this started back in April of '92, and here we are in 2021. Are we still measuring up to that system? Do you feel like things are still progressing, or how are you feeling about things overall?
I don't know of anyone that was on that original board that could have envisioned the success of the transit system over the years. As we've expanded to the county, those things that we put down on paper, we do that today. And we've won a lot of accolades over the past years for the system that we operate and on the budget that we operate. We do have clean buses, although this time of year it's somewhat of a challenge. But inside, and I think riders feel safe when they ride the bus. They don't worry that somebody's going to harass them. I think the drivers are courteous and they do a good job. And like I say, the fare free, I think is a perk of our system. And I think we were somewhat of pioneers in that realm, because there weren't a lot of fare free systems when we started. But today, as I called out, those were just some in the Western US. I think a lot of systems have decided that maybe that's something to explore, and some of them have gone that direction. So yeah, very pleased with the way over the last 30 years. It's not quite been 30 years yet. I guess it's been 29, but the way the system has turned out, I'm very proud of what we have here in Cache Valley. Somebody once called it the jewel of the valley, and I think it's great. So.
Well, Mike, I just want to thank you for your time and thank you for your service. Thank you for your vision. I mean, it's incredible, as you said, to see what it's become. And we wanted to remind folks, subscribe at the bottom if you want to see the updated videos that come out. And we invite you to come and ride with us on the bus. And if you don't, we appreciate your support. So, hey, thanks, Mike. Great talking with you.
Thank you, Tom.